Good afternoon. This is Professor David Weiss, once again speaking from the Institute for Dispute Resolution's Connecting Bridges and Borders podcast and Spotify show. Today we have a great conversation uh, that is dealing with a topic on both corporate social responsibility, dealing with art, dealing with STEM, and more importantly, dealing with empowering young women. Last semester, our institute, through our classrooms in entrepreneurship, did a competition that, in fact, got international recognition using a academic model for our students on a platform that is amazing. And today we have Yamilée with us, who is actually the visionary creator of STEM with Dance. And my students worked on this project with professionals and mentors and a lot of volunteers like you that engage and come into our communities to help our students, the next generation of future leaders. And for those around the world that watch our podcast, New Jersey City is the most diverse city in the country. And our public school services our community. And in doing such, we have just an amazing pool of talent where really you'll see everybody from all places around the world reflected through the prism not only of our city but in our classroom. And I am also proud to have Gloria Moore join us as well. She was one of the participants on her team that won the competition. And I'm looking forward to just a discussion today with Yamilée and how this all came about. So how are you today?
Doing all right. How are you, David?
Good, good. And Gloria, say hello to everyone.
Hi.
So tell us a little bit, Yamile, about STEM with Dance and where it began and why.
Sure. It. I often start by describing my own upbringing. When I was little, I just loved math. Math was just like a game to me, and but I was also into dance, and I played the violin, and I ran track. So into all of these different things. But eventually, what really stuck with me was the math and the dance. And I came to a point where I felt like I had to choose between the two. And I went the math route, so I studied engineering at MIT. And when I was there, I was still dancing, um, and also really compelled by how few students there were in my classes who looked like me. And that just really made me wonder, why is that so? And it's really those thoughts that led to me, founding the organization. Because I wanted to create a space where STEM cannot feel intimidating and boring and stiff, but it can be something that is creative, it's fun, just like the energy and the joy that you feel when you dance. So that's what got me thinking, is there some way that you could integrate dance and STEM so that that environment and that joy that you get from dance can sort of bleed into STEM? And that's what set me on the journey of starting the organization.
And I always love the word journey, and I quoted a lot about life's. Ralph Waldo Emerson gets the official endorsement of saying life's a journey, not a destination, but it was actually a woman that actually wrote that quote.
Hmm.
But you know, the journey itself of life for young women, what have you found in building STEM with Dance, which is located in New York City? Maybe you can give us a little bit of understanding about, the locations, and also what are you finding in that journey for young women that have gone through your program, and how long has the program been going on?
Sure. Well, I feel like the most common path is a student comes in who loves to dance, saw dance on the flyer or the website and signed themselves up, and has a lot of hesitations about the STEM side of things. And that's the case for maybe like about 75% of our students. they're coming because of dance. And there is commonly a point where they have engaged in the STEM aspect of what we do, and they see that, I am capable of this. I can do this. This is actually kind of fun and interesting. And whenever that moment happens, it's just so exciting because there's a spark that goes off. There's this mindset that shifts, and that's what we do this for. And so we are yeah.
No, please, I'm
Okay.
listening.
The format of the program is it happens during the school year in schools that we partner with, and also we have our own summer program called Girls Rise Up. And so students could choose between these experiences, um, and we hope that they get to learn more about things like circuitry and engineering and math and science alongside dance, and it's what it means to be a woman in a field that that they would be underrepresented in.
Mm. It's a sense of empowerment
Totally,
and self-determination.
totally.
Glorimer, if correct me if I'm not mistaken. I think we were talking. You were in dance and also have a dance background, correct?
Yeah, I do.
So
Uh,
so tell us a little bit about what fascinated you about the project that we did last semester in order to sort of look at how maybe STEM with dance and the concepts around dance and code writing and science and STEM can come together for young women in Jersey City. And certainly I'm interested in that perspective from what Yamilée is sort of sharing with us today in our audience.
yeah, like Yamilée mentioned, ballet is or dance is the first thing that caught my attention. But when I was doing my research and I found out that those two things can comes together like perfectly well, it was like, oh my God, I would love to have this opportunity when I was dancing ballet, because it's not, you're not just doing what you're passionate about, you're also learning something that could help you for your future. And Yamile, you know that dancing, it's something that grows your confidence, help you build that confidence. And when you see that you can make more than only dance, you can build something with your hands too and make the dance more perfect. It's incredible. So when I was in the project, it was amazing to see what Jamile has done with all these girls. And yeah, I just love it.
It's interesting, Glorimer, what you're saying and sort of picking back up. I have a question, Yamile, for you. Is in today's world, I mean, given the social media and the controversy over polarization, you know, um, science and art are so integrated in so many ways. But through the annals of time, art obviously has always been the power of medium for societies and cultures, and it can be used in positive ways and it can also be used in negative ways. And I sort of look at that the same way with as we're sort of seeing with social media. How do you find within the medium of dance, which is an art, as for everyone to recognize, is the integrating, if you will, the STEM piece. How do you vision looking out a few years from now as young women come through a program like yours, and then they're going on to become the next MIT Yamile? How do you see the lack of what's happening right now in the ethics issue in social media lacking, the ethics issue in AI lacking? And it's something that this recently a movie that was released on Netflix called The Social Dilemma speaks to. Do you see programs like yours investing not only in the empowerment and self-determination of young women using the mediums of dance and code writing, but also as these young women become women that ultimately go to college and universities and graduate schools and perhaps enter into the workforce, that they can improve and help us with this current sort of transition period where we're finding that AI is important with data, and it certainly will move humanity forward, but that we need to build an ethics perspective into that medium. What's your take on that?
Yeah, such a great question. No, I think one of the benefits of having a diverse STEM workforce is that there are a wider array of experiences and skills and perspectives that can be brought. And I think our students being in the room where these types of technologies are being developed um, is just so important. I think it will actually change the outcome of the types of products and services that are being made. I think that that is a good reminder for somebody like me in my position where I can influence our future innovators and techies at this young age to help them to see the implications of some of the choices that they'll make and um, the impact of technology on people's lives and on society, and to know how powerful that it can be and how important it is to use that power well. Like with having this a technology skill set comes a lot of influence, and I want to make sure that they start thinking now about what role they want to play and how it can affect like literally millions of lives. So I think it's important for us to start having them think about that even at a young age.
I think you're so spot on. I think for we're in this middle of this reflection period, as a result of the COVID pandemic. And obviously some of those reflections can be, we'll say more negative, but let's look at the positive stuff. I know, in life you always can look at the half empty or half full. For me, I sort of look at this as a period of reflection on us as individuals within our own personal lives, but also as a greater part of society. And if we're looking towards the future, it's the concept maybe 10 years ago was, oh, you had to be in computer science or you had to be in engineering, but just by having this touchstone moment at a young age for a young woman to not only use her passion in dance or other even art mediums, but in this case your program that's focused on dance, and tie it to STEM, then opens up the world that they may wind up being a philosopher, but because of the dance experience like Glorimer had, they'll be able to influence on their platforms because they'll be much more knowledgeable, if I'm hearing you correctly, on just having that early part in their life of looking at social media or looking at code writing or looking at AI from the prism of a passion they had in an active skill set, such as the dance and the theater and the ballet and stuff of that sort of nature. Is that a fair assessment?
Totally, yeah. And I think our girls are in a better position having that dance experience with STEM that those who just study programming get, because with dance you learn how to collaborate with other people. You learn how to create things that respond to a need or share a message. It's like another way of communicating, and all of that is just so valuable in the workspaces, whatever field that they enter into.
And Glorimer, Yamilée just talked about a very key word, this word of collaboration, but still retaining your own sense of personal identity. From the experience that you had in the competition, what would your sort of additional commentary be about how we can improve in Jersey City having a program like this? Like, what would it do for us in Jersey City, from your perspective, given your involvement over the last several months in the project itself?
I think the key word you already mentioned is collaboration. We will Stand from Dance will definitely help those girls in that needs it. Yamilée have talked about all the benefits that he has.
The advancement
I
of this is something that
Yeah,
how about the way your reaction is? It's so the potential possibilities are endless, and and that's sort of the impression on your face as you gave that beautiful smile. I sort of, my reaction was that it wasn't that you weren't didn't have the right words, but it's so many possibilities, and
exactly.
I think that's, to me, when I first saw the Stem with Dance video, I was so shaken and moved by the young girls who had just recently, I think, graduated some of the summer camp programs. And it was not just about what they did in terms of in that moment, but they were all reflecting on what it meant to them in almost like growing a small seed in a garden and planting some fruits and vegetables, but for their lives. And we use these words empowerment, but they're words. Behind them is actual the physicality of what happens as a beautiful flower grows. And to me, this program is about growing beautiful flowers of humanity and providing as much diversity and as much collaboration, which then ultimately can create even more amazing innovations and opportunities for really for society as a whole. And I really am really just enamored with what you've done. Let's have a little bit of a hard talk for a second, though. Yamilée, can you tell us what are some of the obstacles in a program that is so, I mean, there's really nothing that you can say that is not been already proven after almost 10 years of doing this in 5 locations in New York City. But what are some of the obstacles in funding that you and challenges you face in terms of spreading the word and getting more corporate donor engagement or private public partnerships? Um, Maybe you can give our audience a little insight on that and maybe some ideas that we can take away from this as well.
Hmm. Yeah, well, a few things come to mind. Um, I think, especially in our earlier years, just being able to get the attention of certain funders was challenging because a lot of foundations and companies, they want to fund what has already been proven, and it's like we need the funding to get to that place. So that was really challenging. Now that we have the data, we have the reputation, that has made um, that has like opened the door to new conversations and new relationships. And so I think, you know, present day is it's sometimes the concept of combining STEM and dance um, is very foreign still. And so, and I find that people really get it once they see it. So what we're trying to do more and more is have people, see the videos. We have more and more video content and see the images of the girls and hear from them themselves. Because somebody who maybe has never danced before or is not familiar with STEM may not understand the power of these two existing together. And then the last thing I'd call out is just the barriers that I face as a woman of color that is raising money in a predominantly white space. There's like more and more research and more sort of like testimonies that have surfaced about the disparity, just like our students face sort of like a lack of fairness at times. The same exists for myself being the leader of an organization and being a woman of color. Um, so,
So yeah, I mean, this is really important what you're saying, and I think it goes to the heartbeat of, you know, a lot of people want to help, but then they're not connected to what we call the platforms that are the conduits to get connected to you. So whether that's government, whether that's that could be like a state government or a city or the corporate boardrooms of a large institution. um, I find it to be something that must be such a frustration is the best word I could probably describe.
mhm,
And how do you think we can go about upon improving that?
mhm. I think first it's just going to take extra effort. It's easier to, remain in our circles. Um,
Mm,
but I may not be, and organizations like ours may not be in the circles that have wealth and influence. And so I just think it's important to seek that out because organizations like STEM for Dance, we exist, um, and 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 we may be some degrees of separation from the heads of foundations and companies. So it just takes a little more effort to bridge that gap. And I think
yeah.
also just having I think companies and foundations should be aware of their data. What percentage of their grantees are led by women, are led by people of color, and and it may take a special fund or a priority area to shift that to increase that percentage. So I think just being intentional about bridging those gaps and making room for organizations like ours, I think is going to be really important.
Well, let's hope that the new movement on ESG, which is about $73 trillion of private management money as of 2025, according to the Bloomberg Sustainability Index. And for my audience, ESG addresses environment, social change and justice, and corporate governance. And it's going to some of the commentary about having color and diversity on boards, um, which Yamilée is speaking to. And let's hope that this is not just a philosophical concept that doesn't get actually implemented in a way that it's meant to do, and that it has a certify and comply through audits, that when this money is being used for what its intended purposes is, which is to create these improvements and social inequalities, that it actually does do that, and we start to see some of the benefits of this. Because ultimately it's programs like STEM with Dance that's going to benefit from this. And by doing such, it's going to create what ESG funding is all about: a betterment of society, a more fair and just society, and social justice at what John Rawls said is something that every human being on this planet is entitled to: freedom and opportunity. And I hope that we are entering a new era for that. And I want to thank you for sharing your story, sharing your platform, allowing my students, their mentors, all the volunteers last semester to be part and to be engaged with your what was your dream, your vision, and your platform, and all those that work towards helping its success in New York. And I hope we can try to find a pathway to bringing a branch to Jersey City with your good guidance and beacon of light.
Yes, I'd love to as well. I'm on board.
Excellent. Well, Glorimer, I want to thank you and all the hard hours and dedication you put into this as well. And Michael Arblet, who is our producer and one of the senior fellows of the IDR. And once again, this is Professor David Weiss speaking from the Institute for Dispute Resolution and its Connecting Bridges and Borders radio and podcast program on many mediums and discussions in a free space an independent and neutral space that's unbiased and is something that brings many different spectrums from across the world back to our local communities. Until next time, as always, I bid adieu.